Hey guys, Hot Rod 2693 here, and welcome to another episode of SupportCraft, where we take a look at new, possibly unconventional builds for support champions during Season 8. Now, for this video, we're going to be doing yet another video on Zilean. If you remember, I've done one before, but this one we're going to be doing a lot of theory crafting. If you enjoy theory crafting, trying out really insane builds that might actually do a really good job, you'll really enjoy this video as we're going to dive deep. We're actually going to have two different rune sets, depending on the who your allies are in your games. I'll explain how this whole build is going to go as we're moving along, but let's begin. So just to give you guys a warning, this video is going to be a little bit on the long side. The theory crafting part itself is going to be about 10 minutes long before it gets into the gameplay. So if you are impatient, the details of the build are going to be in the description below. But if you want a full-on explanation of what we're going to do with every single item and rune, please listen to the video, as it's going to be a lot more detailed. Our goal for this build is to make Zilean as much of a lane bully as possible, giving us maximum poke during the laning phase. And then once it gets mid to late game, we're going to make him as much utility as he can possibly be, while also providing some healing and shielding. I'll explain later how we're going to exactly heal, as obviously Zilean doesn't really have too many healing buildings rather than his ultimate. So our primary path we're going to be going with is going to be the sorcery path. And then the secondary path is where it's going to differ between two builds. For non-hyper carry AD carries that you're laning with, such as like Lucian or Caitlyn, we're going to be using Zilean Poke Utility, which is going to go down the Inspiration tree. And then if you do have a hyper carry such as Twitch or Vayne in your laning phase, we're going to be going down... let's see here. We're going to be going down the Resolve path, and I'll go over the runes on both pages as we get to them. I'll explain why we're going to be taking different runes for depending on what AD carry you have. Our primary keystone we're going to be going with is going to be Summon Airy, which is going to provide additional poke during the laning phase, as well as an ability to be able to shield your allies. If you didn't know, if you target an ally with either your E ability, your speed up ability, or even your ultimate, it'll trigger the shield on your allies as well. It doesn't have to be a healing or shielding ability in order to use Summon Airy. All it has to do is target an ally, and both your E and your ultimate do in fact proc Summon Airy on an ally, giving them extra shield. And I will explain how that's going to affect our build as we get into our item set later on. Our greater rune we're going to be going with is going to be Mana Flow Bam, which is going to provide Zilean the ability to spam his abilities more in the laning phase. As this build, we're not going to be going with Tear to Goddess, so he's going to need as much help as possible in order to get extra mana to be able to spam his abilities. And our lesser runes we're going to be going with is going to be Transcendence and Scorch. Transcendence is going to give Zilean an additional 10% cooldown reduction once he hits level 10. And then Scorch is going to provide additional poke during the laning phase. As for our secondary path, if you have a non-hyper carry as your AD carry, we're going to be going down the Inspiration tree, as I said earlier, and we're going to be taking Biscuit Delivery and Magical Footwear. Biscuit Delivery is going to add additional sustain in lane, as well as give you mana, and then give you permanent mana as you're using the biscuits. And then Magical Footwear is going to give you a free pair of boots at the 10-minute mark, and then it's going to make your movement speed just a little faster than normal boots. Now, if you do have a hyper carry on your team, we're going to be instead going down the Resolve tree, and we're going to be taking Font of Life. And second win, we're going to be taking Font of Life. And what that does is when you slow down an enemy champion, either with your E or double bombing them, or with our items later on, it's going to proc Font of Life. And if your allies attack enemy champion that has Font of Life on them, they're going to heal themselves for a small amount of health over the duration of the next 2 seconds. I'll tell you later on how that's going to interact with our items. And then our other rune, we're going to be taking a Second Wind, which is going to provide Zilean extra sustain during the laning phase. That's kind of filling in for the Biscuit Delivery. Zilean just needs some type of sustain, and Second Wind is going to be our sustain in the laning phase. So we're going to get into our item set now, which is where the fun really does begin, and I'll explain how everything's going to work together. Or we're going to start off with Spellthief's Edge, followed by 3 health pots on your warding totem. Your first backs to base, we're going to be going with Frostfang, followed by your Sightstone next, and then control wards as needed. And then the very first item you're going to rush is going to be Redemption, which gives you additional health, and then obviously it has its active, where it's going to heal all your allies and the radius that comes down from the sky. But one of the main reasons we're getting it so early is because it has the 150% base mana regen, which, as you know, Zilean is rather mana hungry, so having that much additional base mana regen early on Zilean really allows him to spam his abilities, and he's not going to really run out of mana very fast. As well, you also do get the 50% base mana regen out of the Frost Fang, so together you're going to have 200% base mana regen. It's going to keep Zilean spamming his abilities rather quickly. Our next item we're going to be going with is Boots of Mobility, which is going to allow Zilean to roam the map after the laning phase to be able to affect other lanes. Then we're going to get into even more weird items. We're going to go Athene's Unholy Grail, which itself provides just a flat 30 ability power, 30 magic resist. It provides that 10% cooldown, as well as 100% additional base mana regen. And there's two things why we're getting Athene's Unholy Grail. One, it's passive Dissonance, which grants 5 ability power per 25 base mana regen you have. So between your Athene's Unholy Grail, your Redemption, and your Frost Fang, that's 300% base mana regen at this point, which is going to provide an additional 60 ability power on Zilean. So together, once you do complete your Athene's Unholy Grail, will have a total of 90 ability power. And then two, it's passive, which it says gain 25% of the pre-mitigation damage dealt to champions as blood charges, up to 100 to 250 max. Healing or shielding another ally consumes charges equal to 100% of the heal or shield value, healing that ally for that amount. So, in layman's terms, that pre-mitigation is the damage you would do before any of the resistances. So, if you bomb a tank, let's say, that has 100 magic resist, I'm just going low end, and Zilean's supposed to do like 300 damage, and it gets it reduced to 150, it's still going to go up 300. And what that's going to do, you know that Zilean doesn't have a healing ability built into himself. What he does have is Summon Aerie. So as soon as you shield an ally by speeding them up, or using your ultimate, which is you're not going to do very often for that effect, you're most likely going to proc the Summon Aerie with your E. But as soon as you do proc that Summon Aerie using your E, it's going to also heal them for that same amount, using the blood charges stored up by the Athene's Unholy Grail. So you do provide extra sustain, healing sustain to your allies using Athene's Unholy Grail, as well as Zilean does a pretty good amount of damage at this point, since he does have a pretty good amount of ability power. So the next item we're going to be going with is going to be Frost Queen's Claim, which is a really good item for Zilean, actually. It gives even more ability power. It's going to give another 60 ability power, that cooldown reduction. What it does, though, is sends out those two ghosts that chase down the two nearby champions and slows them down for a few seconds. How that works really well with Zilean is it's really good for either initiating picks or starting team fights, because while those ghosts are chasing down enemy champions and slowing them down, you can simultaneously speed up your own allies. So between the enemies getting slowed down and your allies getting sped up, you can catch people off guard really fast, and then once you catch up to them yourself, using your Boots of Mobility, you can double bomb them. They're not really going to get away at that point, as you can constantly keep Eing them in order to slow them down. And I'll come back to that. That is going to affect one other thing in this game. So after that, we're going to upgrade our Sightstone to Ruby Sightstone, which is going to give you additional health, as well as lower the cooldowns of both your Redemption and your Frost Queen's Claim. And then this is where it differs on whether you have a hyper carry as an AD carry or not. So if you don't have a hyper carry, your last item is going to be either Lock of the Iron Solari in order to give yourself more durability, or a Team Shield, or you can also go Mikhail's Crucible, which is going to give a magic resist as well as that 100 base mana regen, which is going to provide 20 additional ability power, and then it's also going to provide plus 20 heal and shield power. And then finally, it'll be able to use its active, which is going to cleanse any stuns, roots, taunts, fears, silences, and slows on an allied champion, and then it'll grant them that movement speed for the next 2 seconds. So that's just a finishing item. All of these on the non-hyper carry build are what goes together. This is just a nice little touch at the end. What's going to be really weird is if you have that hyper carry build. So our very last item, if you have that hyper carry build, is going to be going Ardent Sensor, which sounds extremely weird, but we have this all set up in order to use Ardent Sensor at the very end. So Ardent Sensor gives that additional ability power, gives even more cooldown reduction, which by this point, you're going to pass that 40% cooldown reduction, so that's going to be additional 20 ability power in that base mana regen, which is going to be another 10 ability power. And then it says, whenever you heal or shield an ally, both you and that ally gain additional 10 to 30% attack speed, and they will do additional on hit damage. At this point, we have it set up to multiple things can trigger Ardent Sensor on your allies. We have, first of all, we have our Redemption, which any allies you're going to hit with that is going to give them that Ardent Sensor buff. Anytime you E an ally and they get the Summon Airy buff, it's going to proc Ardent Sensor on them as well. And then this is why we picked Resolve Path, because when we pick the Resolve Path, you're going to also get Font of Life, which, as I said before, when they get slowed down either by your E, your double stun, or now when they get slowed down by your Frost Queen's Claim, it procs Font of Life on them, which, as I said before, when your allies attack that enemy champion, it'll start healing them. And once they start getting healed, they're also going to proc that Ardent Sensor. So you're going to be able to easily proc Ardent Sensor multiple different ways on your allies, give them that extra attack speed, give them that extra on hit ability. I really hope you've enjoyed going through this build so far. I hope you've been able to keep up with it. I know there's a lot of intricacies with how all the items work together, but it's a really fun build to try out. It's really unconventional, but if you want to try something new, I would highly suggest giving this a test. I'm going to do some gameplay after this, but if you've enjoyed this video so far, please like, comment, and subscribe below as we come out with new videos on a weekly basis, sometimes multiple videos, and I truly do appreciate your help. Now, let's get to the gameplay and just see how well this build is going to do for us today. Alright, so for this game, we're playing against Misfortune and Nami. Honestly, I feel like they're probably going to be able to out-poke and out-sustain us in lane, but we'll do our best to survive the laning phase, maybe even be able to get a kill. If we can get through the laning phase, though, I think we'll be pretty good into the mid-game at least. There we go. Hey, finally getting something done. Got that. Come on. Oh, she's dead. That's the funniest way to kill somebody. I love it. It's actually a better laning phase than I was expecting it to be. Awesome. She's got no escape. Nice. I got another. Get up there. just one Q gets them. It's fine, right? Yeah. Just hitting one bomb gets me 142 healing at this point, so if I put an E on him, 136, the majority of it. And I get area right back. It's better than you'd expect it to be, I'm telling you what. Slowing him down. I'm just gonna speed him up. He's gonna be able to take care of that. We're good. Got 205 health. And as soon as I E, heal for the majority of it. If I give her in that area, I'll heal the rest. Get the ghosts out, speed them up, throw a bomb. Hopefully something will slow someone down, and we're good. Yep, you can get, come on, get up there. Oh, you're dead. Heal. Aha! Healing people with a champion that should never heal people in the first place. There we go. Make sure I keep her alive, myself alive. And good game. Like, is it the absolute most effective Zilean build? I have no clue. No clue if it's remotely viable at all. But it's really fun. It's really fun. It's it's different. You wouldn't expect to be able to shield and heal people with Zilean rather than his ultimate. You know, you have a lot more utility than you think you would with this build. Well, that'll be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe below. And I'll see you next time. Thanks so much. Bye.